My wife cheated and expected me to forgive her. I walked away, and life handled the rest. My wife cheated and expected me to forgive her. I didn't scream, I didn't beg, I just walked out the door, and when I left, I didn't look back, because what I saw before me was worse than betrayal. It was entitlement. But it didn't get there overnight. Let me take you back to where it began. Not the day she cheated, but the day I realized something was wrong. Her name is Megan. We met in college. She was smart, funny, stunning in a way that didn't require effort. She had a magnetic quality, the kind that made people lean in a little closer without realizing it. We got married when I was 25, bought a small fixer-upper outside of town, built a life that, to everyone else, looked like something out of a Sunday afternoon commercial. I worked in IT. She managed events for a local firm. No kids, just us and our quiet routines. And for a while that was enough. But over the years, something in Megan began to shift. Not suddenly, not like a light switch. More like a slow, invisible drift, a new restlessness in her eyes. Longer hours at networking events, more time spent on her phone, less laughter, less us. I didn't panic. I figured it was stress, burnout. We all go through phases, right? I thought I just needed to be more supportive, more present. So I tried. I really did. I cooked more. Took time off to go with her to her favorite art galleries. Bought her that pendant she once admired in a passing window. I even planned a weekend away. A place by the lake where we used to go when we were broke and happy. She canceled last minute. Said she had a team meeting she couldn't skip. I believed her. I didn't want to admit it, but deep down I already knew something was off. Not because of anything she said, but because of everything she didn't. And then came the night I opened the shared iPad. We had one account, something we never thought twice about. I went to check the calendar for a work reminder and saw a message pop up. A thread that shouldn't have been there. A name I didn't recognize. A conversation that stopped my heart mid-beat. Flirty, bold, intimate in ways she hadn't spoken to me in years. He called her baby. She sent a picture, one I had never seen, wearing the dress I bought her for our anniversary. The caption made my hands go cold. He still doesn't know, but I'm so glad I have you. That was the moment it broke. Not my heart. That came later. What shattered first was the illusion. The quiet lie I'd been telling myself for months, that we were just tired. Just out of sync, just waiting to reconnect. We weren't. She had already left me. She just hadn't moved out yet. I didn't confront her that night. I closed the iPad, walked to the sink, and washed the glass I had been drinking from like it mattered. I stood there, watching the water swirl and listening to the echo of silence in a house I no longer recognized. The thing about betrayal is, it doesn't scream. It doesn't crash in like a thunderstorm. It seeps, quietly, softly, like a gas leak. And when you finally realize you've been breathing poison, it's already too late. I didn't sleep. My mind raced through every memory, every late night, every unexplained distance. And suddenly, things made sense in a way I wished they didn't. The weekend trip she canceled, a lie, the conference that lasted 3 extra days, a cover, the random charges on our shared card in neighborhoods I never visited. Not random at all. I started seeing her differently, not with hatred, but with brutal clarity. Every kiss she gave me out of routine, every love you text that now read like a performance, every glance across the dinner table where her eyes never really met mine. She came home late that night, claimed traffic, kissed me on the cheek, asked if I'd eaten. I watched her like she was a stranger. I asked nothing. I offered nothing. Because this time, I wanted to see who she really was when she thought I was still blind. Over the next few days, I became an observer in my own home. I watched her body language when she thought I wasn't looking. The way she smiled at her phone, then turned the screen down. The sudden mood shifts. The missed calls labeled with initials I didn't recognize. And the worst part? She was comfortable. She truly believed I was too slow, too soft, too dull to notice. She mistook my kindness for weakness, my silence for ignorance. But I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't unsure. I was preparing. I gathered everything. Screenshots, bank records, travel receipts. A backup of her messages synced from the cloud. I wasn't planning revenge. I wasn't even sure what I was planning. I just knew. If she was going to try to play me, I'd rather play quiet. Megan had no idea what was coming. She thought the affair was hers to control. What she didn't know was that the man she was betraying had already left her. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. All that was left was the part where I told her out loud. And when I did, I wanted there to be no doubts, no room to twist the truth. I wanted her to see herself exactly as I saw her, not as the woman who made a mistake, but as the woman who felt entitled to get away with it. I waited until a Friday, not for any strategic reason, just because it felt like the right kind of day for an ending. I came home a little earlier than usual. She was in the kitchen, sipping wine like nothing was broken. There was music playing, soft and harmless, the same playlist we used to cook together. For a second, it almost felt familiar. Then I remembered the messages. I placed the printed pages on the counter. I didn't say a word. She looked at them, then at me, then back down. Her face didn't crumble. No panic, no gasps or stammering. Just that tight, rehearsed smile, the one she wore when customer service called. She asked if we could talk like adults. So I listened to the excuses, to the self-pity, to the mental gymnastics. She said she'd been feeling disconnected, that I had checked out emotionally, that she didn't mean for it to go that far, that it wasn't serious, and that we could fix this if we really tried. She spoke like someone who thought she still had leverage, like someone used to being forgiven, like someone who hadn't considered that this time the other person might have already moved on emotionally. I didn't interrupt. I let her fill the room with her version of the story, one where I was the inattentive husband and she was the lonely wife who made a mistake. Then, when she finally stopped, I told her the truth, that I had known for weeks, that I had every message, every date, every photo, that I hadn't come to fight or beg or argue, that I had come to leave. The silence that followed was louder than any screaming match could have been. She blinked. Once, twice. And then she laughed. That sharp, clipped laugh people give when they think you're bluffing. She said I was being dramatic, that everyone goes through rough patches, that this didn't have to be the end, but it was. She just didn't realize it until I rolled the suitcase out of the bedroom. She followed me to the door, still talking, still spinning, asked where I was going, said we should go to counseling, said I was throwing away a decade over nothing. I turned around and looked at her one last time. Not with hate, not with sadness, with the kind of clarity you don't get until you've watched someone rewrite your life in real time and call it love. I didn't raise my voice. I just said the one thing she didn't expect, that I didn't blame her for falling out of love, but I'd never forgive her for thinking I wouldn't notice. And with that, I walked out. I didn't go far. Just 30 minutes across town to Aaron's place, my best friend since college. He'd seen me through broken cars, bad bosses, and 2 root canals. But this was different. He didn't ask questions when I showed up with a duffel bag and that look in my eyes that said, "Don't ask yet." He just opened the fridge, handed me a beer, and sat down beside me on the back porch like it was any other Friday night. We didn't talk much at first. The silence between us had weight, but not pressure. It was the kind of silence only real friends can share, the kind that makes space for whatever needs to be said. Eventually I spoke. I told him everything, from the iPad to the laugh, from the fake explanations to the final line I threw over my shoulder before walking out. I even told him how I didn't yell, how I wasn't even sure if I felt sad or just numb. Aaron didn't interrupt. He just listened, sipped his drink, nodded slowly like he was trying to process the version of Megan he didn't know existed. Then I said the part I hadn't admitted to myself yet. That part of me still missed her, that there were moments, stupid little ones, like folding towels or making coffee, where I expected to hear her humming in the next room, that her toothbrush was still in my bag, that I still had the muscle memory of reaching for her hand when I woke up. And I hated that, not because I wanted her back, but because I hated how deeply she had woven herself into my daily rhythm, even while lying to my face. I told Aaron that if she hadn't slipped up, if she hadn't forgotten that we shared devices, that her secret life could be synced with the press of a button, I might have never known. I could have gone on like that for months, maybe years, thinking we were just distant, just in a rut, trying harder while she kept drifting further. The thought made my skin crawl. Aaron said something that stuck with me. He said, "You didn't lose her this week. You've been losing her for a long time. You just finally noticed." And he was right. I'd been grieving a version of Megan that hadn't existed for a while, but that night, drinking beer on a porch that smelled like old wood and rain, something inside me cracked just enough to let the truth breathe. That I didn't walk away because I stopped loving her. I walked away because I finally loved myself more. The texts started the next morning. At first they were soft, apologies wrapped in half-truths. Megan saying she understood my reaction, but that she missed me, that she felt empty without me in the house. Then came the memories. Photos of our old vacation, a picture of the dog we fostered for a summer, a song lyric she once said reminded her of us. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I knew any answer, even a cold one, would only fuel her illusion that this was still something salvageable. And then the tone shifted. The next wave of messages was angrier, defensive. She accused me of walking out too easily, of being emotionally unavailable for months. She said I had given up without a fight, that I clearly never loved her if I could leave so easily. I read those with the same stillness you reserve for reading a storm forecast. Predictable. chaotic, headed nowhere good. I blocked her number for a few days. I had to. My hands were starting to shake every time I saw her name light up my screen, but she found ways around it. DMs, email, even a message through Lisa, my sister, who immediately texted me, "Do you want me to block her too?" I remember staring at my phone, wondering how someone who claimed to be so broken by my absence could find the energy to chase me across every channel like this was a game. She didn't want me. She wanted control, narrative, closure on her terms. But the truth? I didn't owe her any of that. And maybe, if you've ever been betrayed, you understand that strange moment when the person who broke you demands that you help them heal from what they did to you. It's twisted, and it's real. I wish I could say I didn't care, that I'd moved on fully, cleanly. But healing doesn't follow a checklist, it loops, it relapses. There were nights I'd stare at the ceiling in Erin's guest room, thinking about how this all could have gone differently, if I'd just worked more, talked more, been better. But those nights never lasted. Because eventually I'd remember the look on her face when I handed her the evidence, and the way she didn't even flinch. That's when I stopped doubting myself. That's when I remembered that grief is part of the process, but so is dignity. And if you're watching this because someone shattered your sense of self and still had the audacity to ask why you're not smiling, let me say it clearly. You don't owe your abuser your peace. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't need to justify your absence. Sometimes the loudest form of self-respect is walking away and never saying another word. And I did walk away. But Megan? She wasn't done unraveling, and I hadn't even seen the half of it yet. The thing about walking away is you get a better view of what collapses behind you. I didn't look for updates. I didn't ask about her. I didn't even unblock her. But life has a way of delivering headlines you didn't subscribe to. The first came through a mutual friend. Erin ran into one of Megan's coworkers at a local bar. Apparently, things at her job had started slipping. Missed deadlines, tense meetings, people asking quiet questions. Then there was Tyler. Yes, the man she cheated with. He was gone, just like that. According to what filtered back to me, he stopped answering her messages within a week, blocked her on social media, and when she showed up at his place, because of course she did, he told her it had just been fun. That part didn't surprise me. Guys like Tyler don't build lives, they borrow moments. What surprised me was how quickly the mask fell off Megan once she lost her audience. The apology texts turned into bitter emails. Her posts online grew vague and dramatic. Sad quotes, broken heart emojis, accusations directed at no one and everyone. Then, a message came through Lisa. Megan had been reaching out. Again, she wanted to meet. Just to talk. Said she wasn't doing well. Lisa asked if she should respond. I told her no. Because here's the thing, when someone lights the match, they don't get to complain about the fire. I don't say that out of cruelty. I say that as someone who spent months, no, years, trying to patch holes in a boat I didn't know she was drilling through. And now, as I watched the ripple effect from the shore, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt detached. Not cold, not angry, just done. You know that moment when you realize someone else's chaos doesn't belong to you anymore? That's what freedom tastes like. She had made her choices. And now, for the first time in a long time, she was living with them. While I was finally living without them. It's strange how quiet life feels when the chaos stops. You think you'll be relieved, and I was. But what no one tells you is how loud the silence can get after you've lived in noise for so long. Some nights, I still forget that I'm not waiting for her to come home. I'll walk past the couch and expect to hear the soft tap of her heels or the clink of her glass on the countertop, but it never comes. And slowly, that emptiness becomes something else. I moved out of Erin's place a few months after everything unraveled. Found a small rental across town. Nothing fancy, but it has a big window that fills the living room with morning light, and for the first time in a long time, the space feels like mine. I furnished it slowly, intentionally. No more his and hers. No more matching sets picked to impress guests we barely liked. Just things I loved, warm colors, a bookshelf I actually filled, a coffee table I don't worry about scratching, and a dog. Her name's Luna. She's a rescue, part lab, part tornado. I didn't mean to adopt her, not really. I was just looking that day, or so I told myself. But when she leaned her whole weight against my leg at the shelter and looked up like I was the only thing in the world that mattered, I felt something break and heal at the same time. I brought her home the next morning. Luna doesn't care about my past. She doesn't ask for explanations. She just lays her head in my lap after a long day and reminds me, in the most unspoken way possible, that loyalty doesn't need to be complicated. I started journaling again, cooking more, going on walks without a destination, saying yes to things I used to decline, game nights, weekend trips, trying to play guitar even though I suck at it. And yeah, sometimes it still hits me. The weight of what happened. The realization that I gave so much of myself to someone who saw me as replaceable, that I trusted someone who smiled through her betrayal. But here's what I've learned. Trusting someone doesn't make you foolish. Forgiving too much doesn't make you weak. Believing in someone who let you down doesn't mean you were wrong to love. It means they were wrong to break it. And now I'm not rebuilding. I'm just building. Better, stronger, slower. And if Megan ever stumbles across this, let me say this one last thing. I don't hate you, but I don't miss you either. Because what I miss isn't you. It's who I thought you were. And that woman, she never existed.